Cloud. Okay, we are here. We are on day 2 of our Step Up and Shine. Your powerful story will inspire and one of the pieces that we were talking about is igniting that light within. And I just feel like sometimes we have this light and we're hiding it. Because maybe we don't know how to tell our story or how to present it or how to get it out there. And so that's what we are trying to do, is to help guide women, just to be an encouragement for you to tell your story. And I'm privileged to have Deanna Nowadnick here today because I asked her to come because I love the way she tells her stories. She is a gifted storyteller. When she goes live, I encourage you all to watch her on Friday mornings at 8 a.m. because the way you put everything together, Deanna, is just so wonderful, in the way you connect with the audience. And so you are going to be talking today, and I'm excited to hear what you're going to be sharing with us. So go ahead and introduce yourself, and off we go.
So first, welcome. It's a joy to be part of carrying your Shine event here and to be part of part 2. I'm going to share a few thoughts this morning and then make sure that we leave time just to open it up for questions, especially since we have a small group here. Let me add that I keep looking down. I've had one of those mornings where it's like, wow, face powder all over my sleeves. I spill my coffee and it's like, oh, look, there are actually dribbles on my monitor too. How did that happen? And then I'm having a bad hair day with, how can you have a bad hair day with short hair? Yeah, here we are. Here we are. Yesterday we were talking about what we can do with a little lipstick. I don't know. I don't do lipstick, but it could be my moment to start. I love that Fave is shining this week. That we're celebrating stories, and particularly our stories. We know that women have a story to tell, a story that matters, and a story that ignites the light. Ignites the light within. I want to say fire. Well, it could be fire too. Ignites the light within. We know that stories help not only us, but also the people around us. Karen has been a wonderful example of sharing story and including us in her very special journey. And I think we were just talking as we were getting started about the wonderful community that's been created. And we have done that in our stories. Those days that have gone oh so very well, the beautiful sunsets, those kind of moments, and also the, oh my gosh, Karen's getting ready to leave to start new adventures in Arizona, and being able to connect on fears, anxieties, hopes, the excitement of possibilities. It brings us all along and helps us connect in a very special way, because we all have those moments. So Karen, you've been a shining example, and we thank you for that. We all have extraordinary stories to share, and we want to do that in meaningful ways, both personally and professionally, whether it's in a blog post or a podcast, whether we're going live or Zooming. Hi, PJ. And so today we're going to talk about how we ignite the light that's within us. I look at who is with us today. We are all experienced storytellers, going live and also in writing with our own contributions here at FAVE. So not only do I hope that this is a chance just to encourage us to continue to do what we're doing, but also to encourage those that are around us, because we have the ability to mentor, support, and encourage so many women in our life. Guys too, but especially the women in our life. Yesterday, PJ gave us excellent, wonderful guidance for telling our 2-minute stories. Professional stories, personal stories. And as she reminded us yesterday, those 2-minute stories work not only for an opportunity to introduce ourselves at a meeting, but also they can be used on our LinkedIn profile, on our website. And I'm going to suggest that it might even be possible, might even be used on the back of the book that you might put together. It's a possibility. Or maybe your own live show, another possibility. So I want to take PJ's guidance and talk about how we can share our stories in an even bigger way. In our writing and also in our speaking. It could be part of a single appearance, a series of appearances. Perhaps it's a single post that we write or a series of posts. Remember how PJ talked about focusing on our pivotal moments. That shouldn't have been that hard. This is an opportunity to think about the stories that led up to that moment and also the stories that came out of that moment. I'm Deanna Nowadnick. I'm a writer and a speaker who loves helping us women of faith connect our delightfully ordinary stories to God's extraordinary love and faithfulness so we can be encouraged and empowered, knowing that God's been in the details, always has been, always will be. I never expected to be able to say that I'm a writer and a speaker. My writing life led to a speaking life, and my speaking and writing life led to Karen and to the Women of Faith Lifestyles. I tell you that because our storytelling is going to take us places. It's going to take us to important places. You may not intend to be a writer or a speaker, but your stories are going to connect in ways that I don't think we can even realize at this moment as we come together. Several years ago, I wanted to tell a single story. I wanted my adult sons to know how I met their father. I was at PLU and not in the library studying at the time. And before the conversation digressed into too many tee-hee moments, I wanted my boys to know how they'd been part of a very special family, a blessed marriage. One story about love led to a story about joy. A story about joy led to a story about peace. Then came patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I finished and went, whoa, I think I've written a book. So I had the joy of being able to publish a book. And of course, one book led into another book. And now I'm working on book 3. Remember when I said that my writing life led to my speaking life? After book 1, I became Deanna, the author of Fruit of My Spirit. And writing opened doors that I never expected. Writing gave me speaking opportunities I never expected. I was the same person after I wrote the book as I was before, but being able to say author of allowed me a special entree that I just didn't expect and gave me the opportunity to have some wonderful connections with women's group. And now I'm the morning host of Fave's Morning Walks with God, where I have the joy of sharing antics and vulnerabilities that we always hope will connect to a bigger, more important lesson in life. That's lovely, Deanna, but I'm not sure that that's what I want to do. Perhaps not. Perhaps not now. Perhaps our hesitancy, whether it's especially regarding speaking and writing, but especially speaking, can come from the failed miserably moments in the lights, in the bright lights. I've had several. The first came in high school when I was a finalist for Daffodil Princess at my high school. We were asked to memorize a short message. I got on stage and forgot my message not once, not twice, but 3 times. I can still, to this day, feel my face scrunching in concentration, my mouth twisting to find words, my hands flailing in distress, my cheeks burning, my knees quivering. Finally, I came up with some grand finale. It was not grand. Deanna, good grief, that was a long time ago. I know, but our early experiences can create a lasting impression. And to this day, I do not speak without notes. I don't tell you that to discourage you, but to remind us that we're in this together. It's not about perfection, and we have the ability to together to solve for it. Our failed miserably moments don't get us very excited to speak. They can stop us before we even get started. And I don't want that to be the case for us. I still remember my very first book signing. At the very end, an elderly lady came up to me. She couldn't make eye contact with me. In fact, she looked at the floor and said in the quietest voice, "I have a story to tell, but I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. I could never write a book. And I'm never going to stand in front of God and everybody and talk about it." She had an amazing story. She immigrated with her mother and her brothers and sisters as a young child. Her father died literally as her family was boarding the ship to America. Her mom and her family had a story of loss and survival, a story of hope and determination, a story of resiliency, a story that needed to be told. I met with Irene after that because I said, we've got to figure out how we get this down on paper for your family. Your family needs to know this is your story is part of their story. And it's important that they have that. Since then, invariably have I had an opportunity to speak that someone hasn't come up afterwards and reminded me, told me that yes, they have a story to tell. And I invariably will say, but I'm not a writer. I'm not a speaker. We think that speakers speak, that writers write. We put ourselves back in 8th grade English, diagramming sentences, or back at that first speech we ever had to give in front of the boy that we really liked that didn't go well. We remember that time that somebody pushed us forward and said, "Say something." It's no wonder that we get discouraged. We question the value of telling our stories at all. Okay, PJ, we'll pull together our 2-minute introduction. Just don't ask me to go live. I'm not sure I really want to tell us my story. Maybe I'm not ready, but I would like my children to know about that one Christmas we all got snowed in and had the merriest time ever. Just don't ask me to tell it on camera. Why is everybody so excited these days to go live? I still remember Karen encouraging me to go live. Come on, Karen, can't I just record it? It'll be great. I can record it 19 times, pull out the best one, and it'll be great. Doubts can stop us in our tracks. And that's just plain wrong, because our stories do need to be told, not only for ourselves, but for those around us, especially the women around us, the young women around us. and also for the greater community. You don't have to be the next award-winning memoirist. You have a story that matters. We don't have to have 10,000 Twitter followers to be an influencer. And that's important because it's easy to get discouraged. We can put out our best blog posts. We can do our best attempt at a live broadcast and not see, maybe there's just not a lot of response. It wasn't a moment for a lot of likes and love, and it's easy to discourage. But I truly believe the right people will hear our messages, hear our story in the right moment. It might be as we're going live. It might be on a quiet Tuesday afternoon when it's just their chance to hear a rebroadcast. We never know when the moment will be that we'll be able to connect with people. All our stories matter, whether they're written down or whether they're shared in a broadcast, whether they're read or seen by 3, by 30, by 300. So let's see what we can do and where we can go with that. So I have what I'm calling the FABE roadmap to extraordinary storytelling. That sounds really huge. It's not. My second book was called Signs in Life, where I use street signs to tell stories of my antics and vulnerabilities that we tried to connect to bigger, more important lessons in life. So since our theme for today is to ignite the light within, I'm going to use traffic lights to kind of guide us as we think about how we can tell our stories. So we're going to start with the red light. Red lights bring us to a complete stop. At least they should bring us to a complete stop. Today, we're going to stop telling ourselves that we're not a writer, that we're not a speaker. That's going to be gone. That means we have to remove the buts. No more, but I'm not a speaker. No more, but I'm not a writer. No more, but I don't have time. I don't have experience. The buts have to go. The buts have to go. And especially when we're thinking about how we're going to tell our story. So that's our start. No buts. Okay, easy. Next, we come to the yellow light. And the yellow light are there to get our attention, to slow us down. And I'm hoping, I want to get our attention this morning with a call that I had several weeks ago with a young man, a friend of my son, a local business owner. He'd mentioned to Kyle, my son, that he'd like to tell a story, possibly write a book. And he'd seen enough of my posts on Facebook that when Kyle said, I think you need to call my mom, he dialed the phone immediately. We had a great conversation. He said that he'd already set aside time to write, and I complimented him because the reality is we set aside time for the important things. I talked to him about getting started, about getting words on a page. At this time, I said, don't worry about sentence structure. Don't worry about where to put the commas. Just get words down on the page. I also suggested he not worry about the whole story. Just start with one story. He talked about his mom and dad. I said, I have no doubt that their story will be a part of your story. But I think I'd like you to begin with your story. I knew enough about his story to know that he'd had some amazing experiences. I suggested he start with the incredible. I encouraged him, start with that one moment. PJ would call that our pivotal moment. Tell us about the story you told your new employee last week, the guy that you were interviewing, the story about the federal agents knocking down your door, the moment you knew that you needed to call me and get started, the moment you no longer wanted to be identified as a felon, the moment you no longer wanted your prison term to define you. Then you can tell me about the move your parents made from one state to another. Just one story. Start with that pivotal moment. It might be one of the stories that helped you craft your 2-minute story. Or as I said earlier, it might be the stories that led to that moment. Perhaps it's the stories that came out of that moment. It also might be anecdotes that you share in lighter moments. I'm an investment advisor. That's my day job. And, in my former life, I was a 3rd grade teacher. I was teaching children multiplication and division facts. We were not talking about the Dow Jones average. My clients love hearing that story. They love knowing the journey that I took from that classroom to where I am today. We still giggle about it. They still ask me about it. Perhaps the story the story that you shared with your children last Christmas, the story that you remembered at their 21st birthday, the story that you shared at their rehearsal dinner. Perhaps it's the story that you shared at your brother's retirement party. I will often encourage people to write letters. Write letters to your favorite niece. You remembered what it was like to graduate from college. Let her know that. Let her know that you're going to be there should she ever have questions or concerns or just need to talk through life as it's continuing to unfold. Don't be afraid to record a memory. Take time. We all have cameras on our laptops and our phone now. It's a chance to just take a moment to just share some thoughts. They may stay on your phone, they may stay on your computer, but they also may be something that you will have the opportunity to share at some point in time. Okay, so we stopped, we hit the yellow light. Now we've got a green light. Let's go get them. Set aside time to write. As we heard with my son's friend, we make time to do those things that are important to us. Start with one story. Start with that pivotal story. Get words on paper. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry about the punctuation. Let go of the need tos. Let go of the have tos. Just write. And that's why I encourage sometimes to write letters. It may not be a letter that you actually send. It may be a letter that you write in the moment as if you were there 15 years ago. Sometimes when we write letters, it helps us get away from, oh my gosh, do I need a period or a comma there? Oh no, that's not a complete sentence. When we write letters, we just write. We put ourselves in the experience. We just tell what we were feeling. We just share the moment. And it's easier sometimes to get our letters down on paper. But the letters we sent, don't discount them. I have a letter on my desk. Sorry, just going to have it ready. That my then boyfriend sent to me in 1977 while I was traveling in Europe. Is it insightfully informative? No. However, he does talk about going to the Led Zeppelin concert in Seattle and comparing their sound system to Paul McCartney's, as only a guy can. Does he profess his undying love? No. However, he does say that he might meet me in Austria, which I thought was very cute at the time. It's really just a letter from one 22-year-old to another. And I treasure it. I keep it on my desk. I love it. I love it. Again, when writing letters, put yourself in the experience. Tell us what happened. Tell us how you felt. Tell us those things that you'll never forget. Try recording it on camera. Very easy. Now, I'm going to throw in a flashing light, because one of the things that I would challenge you to do is to publish your one story. Should you end up writing a book, let me know. I can connect you with different options on how you can get it published. But in the meantime, think about publishing your one story. Go to Staples, go to Office Depot, where you can have your story put on pretty paper, nice paper, and have it bound. And whether it's read by anyone or it's just kept on your bookshelf, nightstand, on your desk, publish your story. On my bookshelf, I keep my manuscript. I have a book of my manuscript for both book 1 and book 2. You know, it's just put on pretty paper, and it's bound. It's a hardcover book with a picture of the cover on the front. It's not cheap to do, but trust me, it's worth every penny. Actually, it'll be several dollars. Just to have it printed and bound. To hold your story in your hands is just the best. Trust me, it's just the best. And like I said, whether anyone reads it or it's just for yourself, it's worth doing. I love thinking about the possibilities, about the opportunities that you have, that we have these days to tell our stories. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't have the options that we do today. Social media, for all of its faults, has given us opportunities to share stories that we haven't always had. We have publishing possibilities that we haven't always had. And that's just a wonderful, that's wonderful, not only for us personally, but for those around us, and also for our greater community. Let's talk about what it can do for us. Not to share your story would be tragic. Not in a Greek tragedy kind of way, but in a missed opportunity kind of way. Ladies, we all have that special closet in our home. You know, the one where everything gets thrown in. For some of us, it might be a room where everything gets thrown in, just kind of piled on top of things, and then we just kind of shut the door and we just, you know, I think of our memories in much the same way, where we have experiences that just get piled on top of each other. They all just get thrown in together, heaped, some buried. Writing can help us bring order to the chaos. Big things that have loomed large may become smaller as we write. Small experiences that may have seemed insignificant at times can turn out to be much larger than we realized. May even be one of those pivotal moments. In book 2, I talked about hitting the garage door. It was an incident that had loomed large for decades. Here's an excerpt that that I'm going to share just as an example of a chance to tell our story that benefits not only those around us, but especially ourselves. In high school, in response to a question about evening plans, I snapped back at my parents with cheeky arrogance. Grabbing the keys to Dad's truck, I headed out, the door slamming behind me. I'd wanted to end the conversation with an exclamation point that would reverberate long after I'd left. I was off to a meeting at school, but after that, I had no plans. And even if I did, I didn't want to say. I was almost 18 and going to college soon. I wanted to be independent, which for me meant unaccountable. I climbed into the truck, started the engine, giving the gas pedal an extra rev, letting my frustration resound throughout the garage. Preparing to back out, I pulled the truck's gear shift forward and down a notch into reverse. With my foot still in rev mode, the truck lurched backward, and before I could brake, the right front bumper caught the garage door. The frame's narrow wood trim screeched and splintered. Throwing the gear shift back into park, I opened the door and swore in frustration. Stepping down, I turned to see my father standing on the other side of the driveway, arms folded across his chest, body tensed in anger. Let's just say he was not happy. I could go on, but you get the point. It had been an experience that had loomed way too large for decades. In reality, it was a smaller incident, a smaller mishap in my all about me all the time teenage years. I'd driven carelessly through adolescence, a dented right fender and a frustrated father, reminders of the journey. But until I got that story down on paper, I really couldn't get that moment in perspective. Your stories also create context for those around us, for those you love, for your clients. I've put all of our Christmas letters into books for my boys. Why? Because those Christmas letters tell their story. And again, I wanted my boys to have their story. So each one of them has 36, 7, 8 Christmas letters. And again, they're their stories. And, they're still on my shelf. And someday when I give them to them, I'm sure they're not going to sit and, savor them every single Christmas. But again, they will have those stories that for themselves, and also that they might be able to share with their own children. I share stories live and in writing as a way to support and encourage the women around me, especially the younger women in my life. I know it's hard to believe, but I haven't always had it together. This morning, I didn't have it together. I still got face powder all over me someplace. And I want my girls, and especially Manuela and Katie, my daughters-in-law, to know that it's okay, that we don't have to have it all together, that we are there for each other. I also want them to know how much their own stories encourage me. They have a strength about them that I don't remember having when I was a young woman. They teach me things all the time. And as I share stories, as I share our stories with their permission, it's my chance to affirm what they're doing and the impact that they've had on me and my own personal journey. Our stories encourage each other. Our stories create community. Our stories are needed also for the greater community. Our stories add color to the world. Our stories create connections between us. We are, ladies, as you know, we are not just red states and blue states. We're not just liberals and conservatives. We're not just pro this and anti that. We are beautifully, wonderfully unique, unlike anyone who ever was, who ever will be. And unless we share our stories, the news of the day will divide us. The media will continue to define us. Our stories are the glue that holds us together in our uniqueness. Stories of loss, stories of love, stories of challenge and triumph, stories that connect and encourage each one of us. I am a passionate advocate. I talk about this on Friday mornings. I'm a passionate advocate for words of loving kindness. Walk the walk, I like to say. Walk the words of loving kindness. I truly believe our words and our deeds can change the discourse, change the dialogue in our communities, in the groups we're involved with, and especially in the greater community. One small conversation, one small story at a time. Truly, I believe it. We are part of a very special community here at FAVE. You're part of a community that celebrates story, celebrates our story, encourages the sharing of our story, who wants to help us tell our story, that pushes us to tell our story, maybe in ways we didn't think we wanted to do or were ready for, but it's important because we need your stories, your professional stories as well as your personal stories. One of my favorite quotes is by Richard Rohr. He's a Franciscan friar. And I know it's a faith-based quote, but it speaks to the importance of our stories. Richard Rohr says, "The genius of the biblical story is that instead of simply giving us 7 habits for highly effective people, it gives us permission and even direction to take conscious ownership of our own story at every level, every part of life and experience. God will use all of this material, even the negative parts, to bring life and love. Life and love have given you wisdom and experience. Use your stories to mentor someone. Wisdom and experience have given you insight and perspective. Use your stories to teach someone. Insight and perspective have fostered in you imagination, creativity. Use your stories to inspire. Own your stories. Tell your stories. Ignite the light that is within each one of you. The possibilities are very exciting, ladies.
Yes, the possibilities are exciting, aren't they? Yes, and I just love it. I love telling stories and sharing those at Fave Lifestyles. Thank you, Deanna. That was great. I love that the stories that hold us together are through our uniqueness. So I know it just connects us because we can are the relatability. Okay, I can't speak either today. those words trip us up.
Face powder all over.
Yes. Oh, great. So does anyone have any questions? And Lisa, welcome to our class here today. Good to have you here. Would love to have you introduce yourself. And I'm not sure if you know the rest of the ladies or not.
I don't. Thanks so much. It's great. I am Elisa Ellis, and I'm a wardrobe stylist. And I met Karen actually through Instagram, I think, right?
Yes.
Oh,
I
cool.
help, yeah, I help women with closet edits, outfit coordination, and personal shopping. And I try and take them from feeling frumpy to feeling fabulous.
Yes. I bet there's a lot of stories that you hear.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially, coming out of COVID, there are a lot of women who, we're all in different places. Some have lost weight, some have gained weight, some of us fit in our clothes, some don't. Some of my clients have decided they want to be somebody else. They don't want to go back to wearing what they were wearing before. They don't want to wear the heels. They don't, or they're tired of wearing sweats, so everybody's in a different spot right now.
Wow.
Well, and Karen, you were talking yesterday about the importance of not feeling invisible.
Mm.
And what we do, Lisa, as we show up, as we share our stories, um, helping ourselves be visible.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. And
Mhm.
it's funny because as I am moving to Arizona, I was chatting with somebody. I said, this is a new opportunity, not just to explore and be on an adventure, but to start, because I tend to wear a lot of black. I'm excited to wear some color.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in Arizona. Well, not just
Yeah.
that, but it's so much warmer in Arizona that wearing black is not a good thing necessarily.
Right, right. Yeah, so I may be chatting with you. So, yeah, so Deanna, why don't you introduce yourself? I don't think you've had the opportunity to meet Elisa.
Yes, thank you. So I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I help people rewrite the story they tell themselves, past, present, and future, and really create those pivotal moments of how we used to feel and how we can feel differently about all of our life experiences. So that's what I love to do.
Yeah,
You
that is
inspire.
important. Yeah, Danny,
That's
awesome.
great.
Yes. And I know PJ's just listening in. I don't know if she can be on audio or not, but Elisa, I'll add you to our list and I'll send you PJ's talk yesterday because she was talking about how to write your 2-minute story. It was fabulous.
Oh, that's great. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect. Thanks so
Yeah.
much. It was great to join in today.
Yeah. So any other comments or anything anyone wants to share? Or it looks like Heather had to pop off. She had a call, but if you don't know Heather, Heather is just wonderful. I met her, I think, through Deborah Trapin on Facebook. And she is the CEO of The Sexiest Beauty, and she has a cosmetic company. And if you've seen the chats here, she is offering 25% off. I have her lipsticks. I just absolutely love them. So she's giving a 25% off of for the Fave ladies. So, and just use the code Fave25 if you want to. Yeah. So I love
Great,
connecting.
thanks.
Yeah. So we're telling our stories. We're looking beautiful, and we're rewriting our stories that we've been telling us ourselves.
When exactly do you move, Karen?
Today.
Right?
Oh, wow. Congrats. Yeah.
Well, I'm moving out of my place today. And
Okay.
so I was just before this, I'm looking around because I still have to pack my car. And so it's been a process because I'm putting stuff into storage. I'm moving to Arizona, so I'm taking very few things with me. But since my car is going to be driven down there, I thought, oh, I can pack some things in my car. I'm looking at what I need to pack in my car today. And so I wrote a friend and she goes, Karen, is this going to be kind of like the IKEA commercial where you've got stuff on top of your car? Because I said, I don't know if this is all going to fit. I'm actually having to leave some stuff behind.
Yeah.
Like,
It's tough. We think it'll fit and then we get there and it's like, wait, it's not all going to fit.
And Karen also has an electric car. So Karen, how do you drive from here to Arizona with an electric car that needs a charge? How many times? How do you make that work? That makes me stressed just thinking about it.
yes, that's why I am flying. And I'm
Oh,
flying
the car is going.
I'm flying my nephew, my niece's husband from Georgia here to drive my car down because it would drive me crazy.
Okay.
It's I don't have the long range, so it's yeah, but it maps it out for you from supercharger to supercharger. But yeah, it's a little to do. I'd be very nervous. So I said, dude, I'm flying.
Help, help.
Yeah, I'm flying on Monday, so I'm spending the weekend to visit my parents and some, some friends and, all that. So
Nice,
That's great.
nice.
It'll
Yeah.
be an exciting new adventure.
it is a new adventure. And I have to say, you know what? Again, the ladies of Fave, I had put something out there just saying I was looking into Arizona. I think we had 100 women comment about Arizona. They either know somebody, they live there. I was telling Deanna before, I had 2 women call me yesterday from Arizona.
That's great.
And I'm
That's
like,
good.
and I have 5 more that I'm going to.
That's great.
So I'm like, we're just going to expand
Yeah.
Fave into a new state.
You have a community already built in.
Yes, and again, it's just these incredible, incredible women. I'm just blown away daily by who is in our community.
And what we were talking about
That's
earlier too is how cool that Karen's able to take Fave Lifestyles anywhere in the world and continue to build community and bring us all together. It's an exciting time.
It is. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Well, ladies, it's been a great to spend this day with you. I have to tell you, I was really tied up in knots before this. And then Deanna, you just made me relax and just go, it's all going to be okay. It's just part of my story.
It's part of your story. It's part of your story.
Yes. And so there is
And as we close, one of the things that I've most appreciated about you, I don't know if it's most appreciated, but I've really appreciated about you, Karen, is that we think in order to, I think sometimes to tell a story, you got to have it all figured out, and it's got to be prettied up, and the lipstick has to be on, and whatever. But you've shown us how we can show up in our vulnerabilities and with our questions and our uncertainties and figure it out together. And without taking us through the weeds, and what that does for all of us, because life is uncertain. Our days are not perfect. I really do have face powder all over me this morning, but we're still able to connect and support and encourage each other. How cool is that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Deanna. Thank you for coming and sharing with us today. And I will be sharing this with the other ladies who couldn't make it. I had some of them reach out to me earlier and say they had clients and different things happening. So awesome, ladies.
And
Good to share the
PJ,
morning
thanks
with
for
you.
yesterday.
Yes. All right.
Bye.
I know.
Bye. Good to be with you all. Take care.
You too.